Hey guys. So I was watching the movie trailers during the Super Bowl a few weeks ago, and I just noticed how bad they were. So I thought I'd do a little video about why movies are so horrible now. Yeah, so let's do this. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my movie loft. So today I'm going to talk about why movies are shit now. There's lots of videos about this online. One in particular by a guy named Patrick Williams is really good. If you're interested in the subject, I suggest you check it out. I'll leave the link in the description. But I have my own take on what's going on. I think he missed a few things. So yeah, let's get into it. The first issue and most obvious one is streaming sites. Streaming sites have definitely hurt the industry. When I was a kid, I used to love going to Blockbuster and renting movies. I loved the ritual of it. I loved getting home with my movie, and you would be committed to that movie because you didn't have anything else, and you would watch that movie even if it was shit. And now streaming sites seem to have really made physical media almost obsolete, which is a shame. Back in the day, movies would make most of their money off theaters. And then even if they didn't break even in the theaters, they would get a whole bunch of other money coming in from Blu-ray and DVD sales, which would allow them to at least break even or make some profit. But that doesn't happen anymore. Most people do not buy Blu-rays. I do because I'm a huge movie fan. I like to own my physical copy of a movie. I like to own my movie. But most people don't. They just watch streaming sites. So I think that's taken a lot of money out of the industry. And I also think streaming sites like Netflix are almost actively trying to kill the theaters. The CEO of Netflix, what's his name? Ted Sarandos has admitted openly that he thinks the theater experience is dead.
It's an outdated
So when
concept.
someone gets up at the Oscars and says we need to make movies for movie theaters, for the communal experience, that's just an outmoded idea.
I believe it is an outmoded idea.
So obviously he has no reason to try and help them survive. And also, in order to qualify for an Academy Award or some other awards, you have to have movies in the theater for a certain amount of time and a certain amount of theaters. And companies like Netflix will put their movies into the theater just for the bare minimum so they can qualify for the award, and then they'll yank it out and put it on their streaming site.
We have these bespoke releases, basically, for a movie to come out that we'll try to, we have to do some qualification for the Oscars, so they have to run for a little bit.
Perfect example of this is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which is nominated for Academy Award. It was only in theaters for about 3 weeks. I think that was just the bare minimum they had to do, which just shows that they're not trying to help theaters. They just want to qualify and then put it on the streaming site, which I think is a shame. I think all these things should work together. I think they should be helping theaters survive because Frankenstein would be a movie that would bring people out to the theater. Also, the fact that Netflix has such a monopoly on the industry, they just pump out so many movies. I don't think they really care. For example, like movie Carry On I watched. I didn't even get through the whole thing. The Rip was garbage. I think their biggest budget movie last year was Electric State, if I'm not mistaken, and it was just the biggest piece of crap you could ever watch. Yeah, so I mean, in the last 5 years, I think I've watched 3 movies on Netflix that are actually good. I think the reason for that is they just have a monopoly on the industry, and they make so much money that they don't really care if something bombs because they're going to make their money some other way on some other show or subscription fees. So they just throw a ton of shit against the wall and see what sticks.
Well, how about this? I press my butt against the wall and duke on it.
Yeah, so that's definitely hurt the industry as well. That and the fact that that they've taken so much money out of the industry because they've killed physical media, which brings me to my next point: the lack of originality. Okay, so yeah, because there's less money in the industry, studio heads won't take gambles on original ideas. They like to know that they're putting money into something that's already a winner. So what they do is they rehash old ideas. They need to bank on IPs, which is intellectual properties, which is ideas that have already been created by somebody that have proved themselves in the past. That's why you get all the sequels, prequels, remakes, and multiverses of the same things that you've seen before. Personally, I'm so sick of it. I like original movies. I like original ideas. But because of the lack of money, these studio heads don't want to gamble on these films that haven't proved themselves in any way. So yeah, we're stuck with all these unoriginal pieces of crap. So when I looked at the list of movies that are actually coming out this year, it's just the same bullshit. You have another Avengers movie, Mario World, Toy Story 5, a new Spider-Man, another Moana, I think it's live action, Scream 7, Scary Movie 6, Mortal Kombat 2, The Devil Wears Prada 2. It's just crazy. Like, there's the lack of originality is staggering. It's insane that people just won't come up with new movies. It makes you wonder what movies are going to be making in 10 years from now once they've milked all these cows completely dry. So I guess we'll find out. Yeah, so that's a lack of originality. The next problem I would talk about is that star power has died. So back in the day, if you saw a certain name on the cover of a movie, you would watch that movie just for that actor. Even if you didn't know what the movie was about. For instance, if you saw Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Eddie Murphy, Meryl Streep, even Leo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. People don't really go to movies for the actor anymore. Maybe it's because that idiot Pedro Pascal's taking all the roles.
I'm not gay, 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 I'm not gay.
But I really don't know why this has happened. I feel really bad for a lot of the rising stars in the 2010s that were coming up, and now they've just disappeared because no one really cares that much about names anymore. I think the last person that was really big in a way that people would go see was maybe Chris Hemsworth or like Chris Pratt. Yeah, so I don't know. This is something that I think is an issue. It was a way to get people out. The way they used to build stars up. I don't know why this has happened, but it's just another problem that is affecting the movie industry, and people aren't going out for this particular reason anymore. So there's that, and then the next thing I want to talk about is social media. I think apps like TikTok and Instagram have definitely affected the younger generation. Looking at all these short videos and constantly scrolling through them has really affected their attention span. I even notice it with myself, and I only look at these things when I'm on the can or something. So I can only imagine how much it's affecting them. They're on their phones all the time. I've definitely noticed with my nieces or with my friends' kids that they have a hard time sitting down and just paying attention to a full movie. They're always looking at their phones or their attention's going other places. So I do think the social media is definitely affecting things these days. It may deter people from going out to the theater or buying a movie or renting a movie or whatever, which is, again, taking money out of the industry and so on and so on and so on. So yeah, the next issue that I think is a big problem with the movie industry is runtime. Yeah, so the length of movies is insane now. I really don't think a movie has to be any longer than 90 minutes to tell a good story. I have no idea why a lot of these movies are as long as they are. I know for myself and a lot of my friends, if I see like movies over 3 hours, I won't go to the theater because I just don't want to sit in a theater for 3 hours. That's not even including the previews at the beginning and then going and getting back from your car. You're almost looking like a 4-hour experience. And I just don't think anyone really wants to do that. It's another thing that's making people stay at home. I mean, back in the day, some of the best movies were way shorter. I mean, you had Jurassic Park was 2 hours long. Goonies is 2 hours long. E.T. was 2 hours long. Back to the Future was 2 hours. And these days, if you look at the movies that are coming out, the bigger movies that are supposed to bring you to theaters, you have like the new Avatar, which I think is like 3.5 hours or something. Oppenheimer was 3 hours. One Battle After Another, 3 hours. Avengers Endgame was about 3 hours. Dune 2 was almost 3 hours. Yeah, the list goes on. I just don't understand why they're making these movies so long. It's really unnecessary. There's tons of scenes in some of them that I don't even think really need to be in there. It's definitely something that keeps me at home to watch movies and stops me from going to the theaters, because I like to be able to pause it then and go to the washroom and not miss anything, and go get a snack or something. And yeah, so I think the movie length is a big problem. I do think because of the length of some of these bigger movies, it's hurting the theaters and people going to theaters. The next thing I'd like to talk about is home theaters. I mean, yeah, so like home theaters have just got so good now, and quite reasonably priced, that people just tend to stay at home. And when you have a home theater with a great picture and great sound, and then you have Netflix with all these movies, I mean, what reason do you have to really go out and watch a movie in the theater? You really don't. And I think also as well, during the COVID era, people got used to just staying home and watching movies at home. And they're like, why would I go out now? I mean, I have a theater in my house. So the community aspect of watching movies has kind of disappeared. Again, theaters is where the movies made a lot of their money. So when you don't have people going out to these theaters anymore, not only does the theater die, but it also eats up some of the revenue that comes into the industry. So home theaters, yeah, I think have hurt the industry. Maybe not so much as the other culprits I've been talking about, but I do think it's kept people at home. It's promoted streaming sites in a way which has in turn just affected the industry as a whole. But yeah, okay. And then that's home theaters. So the next thing I want to touch on is overspending. I know I said there isn't as much money in the industry these days as there used to be with the lack of physical media and people going to the theaters and stuff. But for some reason, the budgets on these films just keep going up and up and up. And I mainly mean the bigger movies that are coming out these days. Like, for instance, Avatar Fire and Ash was $400 million plus. Minecraft was $150 million. Frankenstein was $120 million. Snow White was $270 million. The Electric State, that was $320 million. And I hear that this Avengers Doomsday movie that's coming out later this year could break records at almost $1 billion budget. I don't know if that's true, but it's just crazy to me that movies can cost that much. As someone who's made smaller independent short films myself, I can't compare to those films, but I do know what equipment costs, and you can get great cinema cameras these days for $5,000 to $10,000. You can get great lenses for a couple of $1,000s. I mean, anamorphic lenses used to be like $35,000. Film cameras were hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's another thing. Film isn't needed anymore. That used to be a massive expense on movie sets. Now they just do digital. And high shots and shots from above where you needed a helicopter or a crane, you don't need that anymore because you can just use a drone. And you can do a movie score in your bedroom with a program. It's a complete symphony now. So that could eliminate hundreds of thousands of dollars as well. And like I said before, star power isn't even really a big thing anymore, as much as it used to be at least. So you just need an actor or an actress that can play the part and do it well, and that's all that really matters. And for someone that's been on movie sets myself, I've seen firsthand how frivolous the spending can be on these sets. Money just gets thrown around like crazy. I do think it's a big issue. Is it hurting the quality of movies? Maybe not so much. It's definitely reducing the quantity, I think. For just one of these massive movies that are costing hundreds of $1,000,000, you could probably make 20 good movies. So yeah, even when I watch some of these movies like Snow White or anything like that, I don't see where the money's going. The effects are not that great. The dwarves looked retarded. Why does it cost so much? It's such a weird mystery to me. Things should be way cheaper. And I think it also deters young, aspiring filmmakers from maybe even getting into making movies because they just think it's just costs way too much when it really doesn't. Like a movie I mentioned in one of my other videos called Primer that I love, it only cost $7,000 to make. It's just a really cool story. It looked good, the lighting was good. So it just proves to you right there that you don't need that kind of money involved. So yeah, I just think there should be a lot more good quality movies being made for less money. And yeah, so that's that. And the next thing on my list is TV shows or series or miniseries. I don't have any issues with TV shows or anything like that because I enjoyed a lot of them. But I'm talking about movies today and things that have hurt the movie industry and made movies shitter. So I had to bring up the fact that shows have gotten better. It started probably back with a show called Oz. That's the first one I remember back in the 90s that seemed more cinematic. It had a bigger budget, had really good acting. And it felt like a movie. And then after that, of course, you had like The Sopranos and The Wire, which is one of my favorite shows, and then Breaking Bad. And yeah, these shows had more of a cinematic quality. They were much higher end. And when I was a kid, you would never see a movie actor in a TV show. It would be like a downgrade for them. They just didn't do it. But nowadays, you see tons of big name actors in shows.
It's degrading, I know, but when the tit's that big, everybody gets in line.
So they're just like really kind of long movies with the way they're shot and the actors they have in them and stuff. So I think what's happened there is it's taken a big chunk of the audience that would normally watch movies and brought them over to that format, which I get. Some people like a continuous story and seeing what happens each episode, so it lasts longer, I guess. And they get more into the characters maybe too. But for me personally, I just like sitting down and getting a beginning, middle, and end in one go. But like I said, I really have nothing against shows. I've enjoyed a lot of them. I think they're great. But I do think they have affected the audience that movies used to have. A lot of people now would prefer to watch shows instead of movies. All right, so the final issue that I think is really hurting the movie industry, and one of the biggest ones, is woke mentality. I remember this kind of seeping into the industry like 10, 15 years ago with that moron Jada Pinkett Smith complaining that there weren't enough black people winning Academy Awards, which is just ridiculous. And now to qualify for an Academy Award or some of these other awards, you have to have a certain amount of diversity in your film. You have to have a one-armed man, a little person, Filipino, trans, a cripple, a leprechaun, a cafeteria lady, a hobbit, a rabbit, a lizard, an Eskimo, a pigeon lady, or you don't qualify for the Academy Awards, which is just ridiculous. Basically, what they're doing is making ideology and politics more important than the story itself. There was recently a press conference from a Norwegian director where he was asked why his movie wasn't more diverse, and he had the best answer.
So you're a little bit into it. This is a cast and a Danish production, which is entirely Nordic. It therefore has some lack of diversity, you would say, as also new rules are implied in Hollywood.
What are you on to?
Okay.
Well, first of all, the film takes place in Denmark in the 1750s.
Like, these people just don't get it. So what happens there is now people are just inserting all these things into the movies instead of telling a good story. They want to send a message to you, and they want to put their views into the movie, and that to them is more important than telling a good story. You could just sense by watching some of these shows and movies these days that it's some blue-haired fucking moron with a nose ring writing it and trying to insert herself into the movie and her views. A perfect example of this is the recent Star Trek show that came out, Starfleet Academy.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is very dramatic, and I'm sure has deep meaning for you all.
This is a disgrace to Star Trek. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's nothing like a Star Trek show at all. You have 2 trans people on the bridge. You have a bunch of fat people. A gay Klingon. It's fucking ridiculous. This shit is so stupid. It fucking has to fucking end. It's absolutely fucking retarded. When you just look at what won last year for Best Movie, first of all, I couldn't even tell you what movies were nominated last year. They were all pieces of dog shit. And the one that won, I think it was called Nora.
Hello, very nice to meet you. I'd like to know about sex change operation.
I see. Men to woman, or woman to men.
Man to woman.
From penis to vagina.
I don't know if any of you guys have seen this fucking piece of shit, but it's absolutely horrible. And that one Best Picture of the Year, it should just be called the Woke Awards. I don't give a about the Oscars anymore. I used to love the Oscars. My parents were movie buffs. They were the ones that got me into film. And I used to love watching all the movies ahead of time before the Oscars, and we'd sit down together and we'd watch the Oscars. I loved it as a kid. And now it's just turned into this absolute retarded, woke, political piece of dog. So it's really sad to see that happening. I don't understand it. They need to get rid of these DEI policies, not just in the movie industry, but in every industry, because it's just ruining everything. It's absolutely destroying movies, and I'm sick of it. I can't wait till this shit's over and we can just get back to good old-fashioned movies and storytelling again, instead of shoving this goddamn message down everyone's throats. Nobody seems to care anymore. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to see it. Just tell good stories. Woke is absolutely destroying Hollywood, and it's really sad to see. I mean, this disease has to die. I can't wait till it's over. It's so warped. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. But yeah, those are just my theories on why movies are absolutely steaming piles of dog shit now. So yeah, if you have any other things that maybe I missed, you can leave it in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah, okay. Take care. Peace.